EIRE is the Irish or Gaelic word for Ireland. So take it easy, or as we say in Gaelic, lig the ski, and listen to all things concerning the paranormal in Ireland and indeed beyond. Welcome to Scary EIRE.
All views are Mark Manning's own, but you can express them too if you want to be right about everything, like he is.
Come on in, the water's warm, and welcome to our show in association with Paranormal UK Radio and Unexplained.ie as well. Our guest today is Carmel Conway, a third-generation psychic medium operating out of Tuam in County Galway. Oh yes, that most historic and mysterious of counties that gives us so much content here on Scary EIRE. I spent an hour or two with Carmel earlier in the year, and she advised me at the time that when I was recording, that occasionally spirit can interrupt the recording, so just to be prepared for that. I said, Carmel, I'm at this game for years, I got this, right? She said, well, be careful, because static and knocking noises and dropouts of audio can happen. I'm just saying. And you know what? We pretty much lost the first hour. I'm quite technical. I couldn't retrieve it. I've no idea. It's gone into the ether, although I don't give up. And when I do, and I hope to retrieve it, because I got a good buddy in Microsoft who may be able to help, I will broadcast it to you. So during our chat, we covered everything from visitation dreams to nightmares. Can you have multiple past lives overlapping in the same time frame? As well as sleep, souls, the 10th to the 2nd dimensions, orbs, fairy rings, negative energy attachments and how you can deal with those, and the phenomenon of having your eyes change colour. Guardian animals, what's all that about? Well, also the world, the direction it's going. Carmel shares her view. She is fantastic. Do check her out. Carmel Conway, Psychic Medium Galway. I'm sure you'll find her if you Google her. But first, it's time for Random Anonymous Strange But True. Ladies first.
I've had a few strange things happen, but they creeped other people out more than me. My grandmother came to me in a dream when I was in my 20s. She died when I was 4 or 5, and she showed me this plane that had crashed upside down in a field, with no other detail than that I can remember, except the plane was pretty small. Back in real life, my twin brother was supposed to go to Belfast, but his boss begged him to work as they were really short-staffed, so he cancelled. The day my brother was due to fly home, the plane crashed in Cork Airport, upside down on the side of the runway in the grass. My brother had his seat booked at the front of the plane. The 6 people in the front were sadly killed. My dad died when I was 21, and when I was about 25, I had a dream where he was saying goodbye to me, that he loved me, and that he wouldn't be able to visit me anymore. And I knew inside that if I'd stopped hugging him, that I would never see him again. And very sadly, I haven't. Me and my mum were on a holiday, and I was checking the news from home, as you do, and it said someone had been murdered. Out of literally nowhere, an image of my neighbour's brother popped into my head, and I told my mum. He lived on the other side of the city, but I didn't really know where. Maybe I saw him a dozen times in my life. His name wasn't released for days, and I was right. I just knew.
I was walking my dog one evening in November, about 2 years ago, just around the street to get her business done. She's great on the lead and just walks and does her sniffs. Suddenly she stops at the gate of a house a few doors down from me and looks at the door. I was thinking, silly dog, she thinks it's our house, so I tug her harness to move her on, but she refuses to move. She just keeps staring at the door and starts to lick her lips and yawn. I know that's how she shows anxiety, so I bend down and start to pat her and reassure her that she's okay. Eventually, after 3 minutes or so of her staring at this house, she comes along with me back to my house. I thought nothing more of it, just assuming she had heard a cat or something else inside the property. That night I was walking at 3 AM to flashing blue lights and distant slams of an ambulance door. They were at the house my pup was fascinated by. Turns out the elderly lady that had lived there had passed away that day, and her son had just found her when he came in.
I had an experience of missing time once. I was walking home one night completely sober, when all of a sudden, in the click of the fingers, all I could see was a mottled brown texture. It took me a minute to figure out what the hell I was seeing. What I was actually seeing was the bark of a tree. I was so close that my nose must have only been an inch or two away from touching it. When I got my bearings together, I figured out that I was actually standing right up against a tree facing the opposite direction to which I was previously travelling. About 30 feet back down the path I had already walked. Freaked the hell out of me, and I sprinted the rest of the way home. The only logical thing I can come up with to explain what happened is that I somehow fell asleep while walking and sleepwalked back to that position. As crazy as that sounds.
When I was a teenager, me and some of my friends were exploring some type of big old church institution. The place was fairly old and it had been abandoned for a while. When we were on the 3rd floor, we heard what sounded like the front door slam really loud, and then we heard footsteps absolutely sprinting around the place. We had to climb out the 3rd story window and climb a dodgy rotten wooden ladder to get onto the roof and hide. We could hear whoever it was walking around the rooms looking for us, and when we heard nothing, after a while we climbed back down. When we got back into the building, we started hearing more loud bangs and stuff like that. So we just shouted out that we were leaving and we meant no harm, because we were scared enough at that point, but no one replied. I always was confused about that, not sure why someone would chase us around the building and then not show themselves when we gave ourselves up.
One night in the summer of 2021, at about 3 or 4 a.m, my 1-year-old son was crying in the cot with terrors. I went in to calm him. The power seemed to be gone in the house. His door wasn't closed behind me this time, and I could see out into the hall. I knew my wife would come out from her room too eventually, as the crying was bad. I saw her come out in the dark and go down the stairs, and I wondered what she was doing. Then, much more clearly, I saw my actual wife come out of her room and come into us. I was very confused and shocked. She left quickly when our son didn't react well to her, or maybe it was when I picked him up. She went back into the bedroom. I eventually calmed him down and straight away went downstairs looking for the person-shaped shadow that walked down the stairs that I thought was my wife. Nothing anywhere. Dog and cat were all calm and quiet. The doors were locked. I saw the neighbour's house across the road from us had power, so I checked the switchboard, which was tripped, and got the power back on. I never told my wife at the time because she was about 6 months pregnant with our daughter, and she didn't need to hear that. I told her since, and it freaks her out.
Mark Manning. Oh, for God's sake, we've got enough trouble with guns in the world without him being on my show. Tell you what, let's redo this right now. I think we should have the sound of a cork being pulled from a beautiful bottle of red, Beaujolais or whatever, and listening to its silky lusciousness swirling around in the glass. How about that? Let's do it. Mark Manning. Now that's far more civilised, don't you agree? As I was saying earlier on the show, our guest is Carmel Conway, psychic medium based out of Tuam in Galway. So listen in and join our chat where I'm asking Carmel for her view on water in the proximity of people when they sleep. Essentially, I used to live near what I later discovered was an underground river, and boy did I have some really weird sleeps. So listen to Carmel and all that sort of thing. Tell me why the proximity of water has such an effect on us
Because when
psychically.
we, as as I was saying, when we return to our original form, which is a ball of energy and light, right, and frequency, we relate to balls of energy and light and frequency. So when your spirit and soul divide, and your spirit is floating around looking at its loved ones, so the conscious mind of the person that has passed away is looking at its loved ones. It can't see the human form. All it can relate to is the ball of energy and light and frequency. So when the spirits travel through ley lines, which are water lines, or energy lines, and they do that on a regular basis. And when you tune in, your frequency tunes in. That's when you see them. It's like tuning in a radio. You tune in, you see a shadow out of the corner of your eye, and then it's gone again. That's the spirit world. So what happens with you is they get to your house, and your light bulb will say over your house is shining brighter than mine would be. So they go, oh, somebody that can communicate with us. Okay, down they come. So when you go in your front door of your home, your first room, the room on the right, when you go in your front door, the first room on the right is always cold. The older generation, not cold as in, you get goosebumps, but slightly, we'd say 2 or 3 degrees below the rest of the house. The older generations used to say the north-facing window. That was their excuse for it. It was a north-facing window, so that room was always cold. So the ley line comes up in there. So the spirits wait in there because they think you can talk to them, basically. Okay. So your sleeping is affected in 3 ways in that respect. So you'll either go to sleep no problem, and you get pulled out of your sleep. Like, just wide awake all of a sudden. It's not a slow wake up. It's like you're wide awake all of a sudden. And you'll just roll over and go back to sleep. That means that there's a spirit just going through the room. Simple as. The second way is if you get pulled out of your sleep and you can't go back to sleep. You're tossing and you're turning. That's why people say, get up in the middle of the night for a cup of tea or slice of toast or whatever it is. That's because there's a spirit trying to communicate with you. The third way, which it's happening more frequently to people, is, and this is happening to you as well, where you'll sleep for the full night, right? But you'll wake up extremely, extremely tired the following morning, right? Now, it's like you slept but you didn't sleep. It'll also feel like you've had a drink the night before and you mightn't even drink at all.
Yeah, sometimes I do get that, where I haven't been drinking, and I feel like, that's true.
Yeah, it feels like a hangover. And normally by the time you have something to eat and drink, it's fine again. So what that one is what's called, you're a light bearer, okay? So you have a mark of a healer and a medium. Whether you're doing it or not, it doesn't make any difference. Or whether you believe you are or not, your soul has that. So what happens, this is now where people are going to be looking as if I'm totally mad, but however.
Welcome to the club.
Jeez, I'm telling you, it's great. Hey, I have a tattoo on my foot that says all the best people are mad.
Very good.
No, it's from Alice in Wonderland. But basically what the third way is the light bearer. So what that is that your spirit guides push your conscious mind to one side, okay? So your soul can do the work. Now what a light bearer is they hold the light. So the light at the end of the tunnel that people say they see, which apparently does exist, because I saw it, is you're standing there holding it open for people to pass through, right? It's a subconscious thing. It's because you are a healer. It happened more in COVID than it does now because there's so many people crossing over. But the way you know this is happening is, do you know the nights when you're just going to sleep and you jerk awake like you're falling off a cliff?
Yes.
That's because your spirit guides came in and kind of disconnected your spirit quicker. You have to be fully in REM sleep before this happens. Okay. Simple as. And sometimes
REM is rapid eye movement, yeah?
Yeah. Dream state. You have to be kind of in that state before they kind of push your spirit to one side so your soul can do its work. You'll always wake up between 4:30 and 6:30. All right. Sometimes you'll go back to sleep. Sometimes you won't. If you do go back to sleep, that's where you have lucid dreaming. You have crazy, absolutely whacked out dreams.
Oh God! I had probably the worst nightmare of my life recently, and it coincided with the night I started to take magnesium. But oh my God, it was a scene of butchery and carnage like I've never. It was I don't even want to think about it. It was a one-off anyway, but I've had bad dreams before, but by God, this thing was like video nasty on steroids. It was terrible.
Oh, it is, yeah. Oh, no, it is. It can get the darker energy, shall we say, and they can create very scary dreams.
Can we linger a little? Can we linger a little while in sleep here? So, I have, as I said, this recurring dream which I've explained. Where I'm punching out. I also have a dream that I'm in. Well, I had two dreams, and they often don't. They might come once every 18 months or something, right? But I have an affinity to a north part of Dublin. It's up past Portmarnock. It's along there. I'm trying to think of it. And I can see myself walking up, and there's a seawall to my right-hand side. And yet I don't think such a place exists, right? But I'm being drawn towards northeast County Dublin. So that's one thing, right? The other two I used to have, right, was I'm in an area roughly Cabinteely in Dublin, that kind of area, down the coast anyway, towards Bray. And I'm a young man setting up a family with a young woman. I'm in my late 20s, early 30s, in the 1970s, right? And I really have to say how much of this is real and how much of it is fancy conjuring on my part. But I get this feeling, and sometimes I drive down that road and I go, that's where I feel the young couple. Right, but at the same time, sometimes I have a dream. I don't know, you probably won't remember, but there was a movie called Falling Down with Michael Douglas way back. And the opening scene is he's stuck in traffic and it is steaming hot in some American state. And it's that whole thing of the traffic jam and horns going and people getting angry and stifling hot. But it's not so much that, but I'm in one of these big MF cars, if you know what I mean, right? Big American car. It's around the time of the plaid trousers. Do you remember those? I don't know if you do, but they often featured in porno movies of that age. Yeah. The guy with the plaid trousers, right?
Yeah, I remember.
It's like that kind of longish hair. I'm a young guy and I'm going through a toll booth. And the feeling is it's Detroit, right? In the States. Not necessarily that it's mad hot. It's just a beautiful sunny day. Life is good. I've got this big car, this big blooming car.
You gotta love spirits.
Okay, you do. Well, your spirits. Now she's back again. That's weird.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, so
what you're talking about there is past life.
Yeah, well, no. So it may very well be past life, and I don't particularly want to believe in past life. Now, you might tell me I'm destined to be. I'm quite happy with having been me. I loved my parents. I loved where I grew up. I was loved. I love Ireland. I love Dublin. I love Kilkenny, where I was originally born. All these things. I don't particularly want to come back if I can help it. However, here's the question for you. Can we have multiple lives at the same time? Because I'm saying, hang on, that young couple in Cabinteely in the 1970s, clashes with some guy stuck in a traffic jam in Detroit in the 1970s. So there's a crossover, overlap.
Yeah, there is. A more, as the frequency rises, there is a thing where all the dimensions. Okay. I haven't done much study on it myself now, in fairness, but
just say that again. Sorry, she stopped. Your spirit's kicking in. I've never had this before. Go for it. Say it again. So hang on. Is there an overlap going on there, Carmel?
Yes, there is. As the frequency rises, it's kind of like our soul can be in different dimensions at the same time. I know that's really weird. I haven't done much study on it myself because it's only started to come up in the last 6 months or so. I've met people that have had the same experience.
Wow.
It's called, technically I'd call it the recalling of soul pieces and soul memories.
All right.
So we'll say you're seeing yourself in Dublin and you're seeing yourself in Detroit at the same time.
Yes.
All right.
Roughly,
yeah. Being around the same time frame. There would have been experiences your soul would have had that are overlapping in your conscious mind or in your subconscious now. So think of it this way, your soul, like when somebody passes away, it's the only way I can describe it. When somebody passes away, that when they can be in several places at the same time. So a loved one passes away. Say, take my father, for example. He passed away. So he can keep an eye on me, my kids, and my brother all at the same time. much the same thing with the soul. It's an interdimensional travel, if you want to call it that way. Sounds weird, but even as I said, this has only cropped up for me in the last 6 months or so I haven't really looked into it as much as I probably should have. But it can be done, yes.
Okay.
It's the dimensions. It's the theory where the fifth dimension, anywhere from the 10th dimension down to the second dimension where we are at the minute, all exist and coexist at the same time, and we travel from one to the other.
Okay. Now, also just a little bit of housekeeping here. If anybody's listening and some of this interview sounds staggered or the audio goes on it, Carmel has shared with me that at times spirit can come across in audio as static. But also what I've had happen here, now every time I speak to a psychic, because when I spoke to Rhonda Hale going way back, she told me my parents were behind me and she got very descriptive. Now I'm talking to Carmel Conway, psychic medium out in Tuam in Galway. And what has happened was at one point I had to stop the recording because I could see the waveform, as it's called, just stopping. Now that can happen. That can be a glitch where PC can overheat, whatever. But I've moved to a second PC. Now it's currently working. So I'm just saying, folks, if you hear something that's a little bit disembodied and it's clipping, it could well be spirit at work, because one PC can happen, but two PCs doesn't happen. So just letting you know. Now, I want to stay. I want to stay with you, Carmel, while it is working.
Yeah, no, the lady I was talking about earlier on, where I was saying to you when it did clip out, I think that the lady that did the little film clip on me years ago.
This was a lady from France who followed you around for a day, seeing what you got up to.
She's from Sweden.
Okay, so
she had all new batteries and everything else. In the space of 15 minutes, she went through 3 full batteries.
Right. Well,
it's strange.
So, well, it's. I believe you. Now, visitation dreams. I've only had, I think, maybe 2, and they've been so fleeting. I mean, as in almost microseconds, but in those seconds, they're vivid, right? So I did get my mother at one stage, and she looked, I know it's cliched, but she looked a hell of a lot younger than she was. She was 80 when she passed. And so she looked radiant. But in accompaniment with her, there was this, I can only describe it as sonically exquisite, angelic sound, like a crescendo of music. And if you were to isolate it, you'd say that's otherworldly. What do you think that might have been?
Choir of Angels.
Really?
That's Catholicism. That's the way we would say it. I heard it once ever in my lifetime when I was 21, when I lost a daughter, and it's something you can never replicate, and it's something you can never describe. But it creates so much peace and so much harmony and love. It's the only way I can describe it. It's Choir of Angels, basically, is what we call it. It's the vibration. Catholic, that's what we call it. It's the vibration and the frequency of the other side of the veil. That's what it sounded like. It sounded heavenly. That's what it is.
I suppose that's what I was thinking. Heavenly is how it sounded.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's the veil.
But it was like what you'd imagine it to be, like on films and stuff. But it was like, no, this is even better. This is even more pure. That's the sonic nature of it. It was like frequency of I don't know what it was. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. We're very lucky to catch that on.
Well, I'm very lucky to be having you here today, chatting to you, because I'm enjoying it, despite our little spiritual friends perhaps interrupting recording every so often. Gremlins, as they generally call it in radio terms.
If you like our Scary EIRE podcast, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or ideas, contact Paranormal Ireland at protonmail.com. Right then, back to the podcast.
I want to ask you about orbs. Right, here's a good one. So, I was in Edinburgh recently, and I loved it. Just loved it. And my wife is great at ferreting out, places to stay and all. Anytime she picks somewhere for us, it's a good place. And this was in Edinburgh, not too far from the castle, but it was probably an old Georgian type house. I actually filmed when I was in there. I felt I love this room. It looked out on there's a hill there where the Scottish Parliament convenes. Their building is there. And, as I said, a bit up the way was the castle. And I sat down in this place, and it was like a home from home. It just had, maybe I grew up in a house like that, kind of a big old house, and it was so well decorated, sparse-ish but classy, and I just loved it. So I was reviewing, I took a video going, I just love this place, off my phone, right? Now I have, and I've seen them here before, the little Orby things. The jury's out on them. I get them in the studio sometimes when I'm doing camera work.
That's your mother. That's your mother and father in the studio.
You're saying exactly what Rhonda Hale said. You guys are remarkably good. So can I just say, I reviewed the footage the other day, and this is like 3 months ago since I looked at it. And they weren't so much orbs, almost like little A5, A4 bits of transparent paper, that shape. And they were flying. They were talk about being active for the first 2 or 3 seconds. There's about 4 of these things flying, fluttering. I never saw them before. What is
mother
that?
And father, mother and father, and grandfather on father's side, and grandmother on mother's side. They're all very proud. Yeah. Plus, spirits are very inquisitive as well. They like to see what's going on.
But would these not have been Scottish spirits? No.
Not necessarily. Well,
Did I just happen into a place that was like historic and?
Yeah, but the 4 spirits that you saw would have been your parents and your ancestry protecting you from the other spirits, because ancestry, more so parents really and grandparents, they act as spirit guardians for you. So they were flying around to protect you from the other spirits of the spirits that were in the place you were.
Question for you. Why were you so sure that in my studio it's my parents?
Because they always go around with you. They're your protectors.
Really? And let's say you transgressed or whatever. Would the parents be aware of your bad moves as well as your good ones, like?
Yes.
Wow. And can they guide you away from, like, supposing I was doing Class A drugs or something, which I'm not, by the way, but suppose.
Well, no, but if you were, they couldn't really stop you from doing it, but you'd be very sick after doing it. Put it that way.
Do they turn a blind eye, like, to certain? Did they give you any privacy? Did they give you privacy, like?
Oh yeah, they can do, yeah.
I don't particularly want, much as I love my parents, I don't particularly want them hovering around every aspect of my life. I'd like to live my own place.
When I say this to people, the first thing, which is really weird, but the first thing that comes into their head is, oh God, I hope my parents aren't around and I'm doing intimate moments.
Yeah, totally.
Weird. No, we don't do that.
Perfectly natural, but intimate moments, please. Privacy.
No, they don't.
No, oh, that's good. That's good to know.
Like at the moment, I've got my father looking at me, asking me what the hell am I doing.
Yeah. Who's this Aegis? He's saying, well, don't be wasting your time.
Well, no, around there, when he was alive, around this time, anywhere between 12:30 or 11:30 and 1 o'clock, he used to always pop over for a cup of coffee because he only lived down the road.
Do you think you got your powers from your father or mother or both?
Well, no, here's the thing. I'm adopted.
All right.
So my backstory is I'm third generation natural born psychic medium. I said that already. Right. The third generation is self-explanatory, but I get my abilities from my birth parents, not my adoptive parents. I did know when I met my birth mother, and she I thought she was going to, the only reason I met her was because I wanted to see, because some of my children were seeing and hearing things as I was as well. And I wanted to meet her to see did I pass on any mental health deficiency to them, to be honest with you. She looked at me, and you know the way some people, they look into you, not at you.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Well, she did that to me, and I thought, she just looked at me, and I kind of got a bit scared. And she kind of said, oh, I see we gave you the family madness. Yeah. And I'm looking at her going, oh God, she's going to tell me now I'm bipolar, schizophrenic, or manic depressive or something. And she basically went on to tell me I was psychic. And I'm looking at her as if she needed to go to a psych ward, not me. Took a while after that for it to settle in. I got adopted then into a family here in Tuam when I was 10 months old, and Dad was a farmer. And I used to wander off on the farm, and that my father's top field, there was a fairy ring in it.
Oh yeah.
And anytime I went missing, I was up there.
How should one approach a fairy ring?
ask permission to go into the field first and probably not step into it without asking permission either.
Describe a fairy ring to, say, an American who goes, my great-grandfather Donald Levy lived here, but he might have forgotten what a fairy ring was. So what is it?
Okay, fairy ring, it looks like a round circle in a field. It can be raised or it can be flat, and there's usually trees in around it, like a copse of trees. That's like Irish tradition, hugely steeped in fairies. My dad, he said that when he was about 9, himself and his friend, his father sent him up to bring down a cow that had wandered off, and he told them to get out of the fairy field before it turned dark. They didn't, because they were playing football. They didn't, and they couldn't find the way out until the following morning. And when my grandfather came to find them, they were asleep in front of the gate.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, and we have a hill here in Tuam called mix.A, which is basically it's where supposedly Queen Maeve is buried. It's a fairy hill. Basically, I went up Queen Maeve.
Queen Maeve.
Technically, she's supposed to be buried there. I don't think she is, but it's a fairy hill. Mix.A, it's called.
Have you heard, I know our mutual acquaintance PJ Kavanagh from Paranormal Awakenings Ireland, have you heard any of his EVPs as they're known? No?
I've been out with him on a couple of
he's good, isn't he?
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
He's an absolute sweetheart, so he's absolute sweetheart. Very interesting too. He's an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah, it's some amazing recordings. I mean, the one he had, the monk's fishing hole in Kong or something, he said it's a demon and it sounds demonic.
Is Ronan in danger?
I've been on one expedition with him when we deal with the demonic energy, which wasn't very nice.
Wow. Which reminds me, sometimes if you are investigating or you're in certain areas, I'm told that a negative energy can attach itself or entity to you. Now, he said to me that if that happens to him, you are the person he was going to come to. So how would you exercise, if you know what I mean, a negative attachment? Or what is an attachment to begin with, and how do you get rid of one?
Well, there's different things. There's an attachment, and then there's a demonic energy or an entity. So an attachment, we all have attachments. Coffee, sugar, that type of thing. Minor human stuff. When your vibration is low, that's when negative energies around can hop into your aura. So a demonic attachment is slightly different. It is exactly what it is. It's demonic of nature. The way I work is they're on 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 3 being, for me, being the worst, and level 1 being the least. So how you remove them? Not probably the way I remove them is the way you're supposed to remove them, but you're supposed to call in protection and light candles and all of that type of thing. I don't tend to do that because they annoy me. So I just move them. I take them off the person, move them through me, and move them out, which usually means I either end up coughing and choking and spluttering on the floor, contorting in all different weird shapes, and talking with a growl. Which is not the way
you do. It happens to you.
Yes, unfortunately. Not
so what's that like? Sorry, you're basically you've been taken over. So what control have you got?
Possessed be the word I would have used. Very little control, to be honest. My guides come in then. I have guides and Archangel Michael, which is the blue ray, and Archangel Mestron, who is the gold ray. They usually help pull it off. I usually have to have somebody like PJ or a friend of mine. If I'm going to do that, I have to have somebody beside me to make sure that, because my eyes change colour. I don't know whether PJ mentioned that to him. My eyes change colour. They go very, very black. And I have to have somebody there, a second, shall we say, there to make sure that I return to normal.
Yeah, in case you swallow your tongue or something, mad.
Oh no, I wouldn't swallow my tongue, but I would be very angry. Put it that way. I'm not my guides don't allow me to do it as much as I used to do it.
So that's a negative energy, right at its worst. What can we do to keep our energy positive?
Well, most people have positive energy. It's demonic energies. Some people are born with them, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. That's why, we'll say a mass murderer or something like that. Their parents are the nicest people in the world. It's a negative energy. The way I work it is level 1 is just an annoyance. Level 1 demonic is just an annoyance. Basically, your temper flares up. You get aggressive for no apparent reason. Not majorly aggressive, but just get ratting. A level 2 is a little bit more serious. A level 2 is usually what I have to remove from people, where they act totally out of character. They lose their temper. I had an experience a couple of years ago with a couple who he hit his wife and he didn't remember doing it. And all she could remember was his black eyes coming at her. Level 3, you wake up dead. So if you have a level 3 demonic, you're dead, basically. Not all the time, but and they can be removed. But I call them, some poor creatures, God love them, they commit suicide. And somebody might have met them the day before and said they were perfectly fine. I don't know what happened, just happened like that. It's like a flick of a switch. If negative energy attaches to you for any length of time, it's trying to claim your soul. So when you pass away, your soul goes down, not up.
I heard an expression recently. Somebody had a good reputation and then he was caught in an unguarded moment. As they say in this business, all microphones are live. And he revealed an aspect of his character that people had not suspected. And he was basically shut down. I don't want to use the word, I hate that word, cancelled. But in defence, the guy that was doing the cancelling said, he showed us who he was. He showed us who he is, right? Because the guy had said something. Whether it was, I don't know. It could have been racist. It could have been misogynist. I don't know what he said. But anyway, the guy said, no, he's showed us who he is now. We don't want anything to do with him. So how many people do you think are walking around with a smile on their face and really there's a grimace behind that mask?
More than you would like to believe.
I'd say so.
More than you like to believe. And because the vibration is rising now, which is getting closer to 2032. Now, the whole 2032 thing is about the veil lifting. So the division between the 10% of the brain we use and the 90% of the brain we don't use is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Now, for us, it's not going to make any difference, to be honest with you. But what it basically means is that our conscious mind takes a permanent step back, because all the spirit was supposed to do is keep us walking, talking, and breathing. It's the first level. Now, this won't happen for millennia and millennia and millennia, but we're on the first wave of the way the universe wanted it to be originally, which is heaven on earth, before man did humanity to man and free will and all that. Now, we're not going to see it in our lifetimes, and I'd say I'd be back maybe about 100 times again before it happens.
I'd love to be positive, but I think our future, short term anyway, is pretty bad. Now, I want to ask you a few more things, because I'm taking far too much of your time. Animals.
Mm-hmm.
I love my cat. Now, I want to say this to you, Carmel. I love him like a member of the family. And it took me a while. It took me a long time. For a long time, he was just a cat. And then one day, about 8 or 9 years ago, first of all, he's with us about 15, 16, so he's an old boy now. I looked at him and I said, you are the other bloke in this house, and you have been so good with our children when they were grown up. You weren't far off being a kitten. You were loyal. He's always around. He's one of these tuxedo cats as well, which are particularly smart, I'm told.
I've got one sitting right beside me at the moment.
Oh, and he's so zen-like, and I pick him up.
He's a tuxedo as well.
He's a tuxedo. They're beautiful cats, and I can flim him around my head if I want and lift him and huddle him like a baby, and he snuggles up to me.
My one here suffers from, he's on medication at the moment, he suffers from anxiety, separation anxiety. So when I went away in September for a couple of days, longer than I normally would go away, he literally pulled the hair out of himself.
Oh.
Just growing back now. They're called guardian animals. I have 2 of them. I have a dog and a cat.
A guardian animal.
They're guardian animals. So what a guardian animal is going to sound weird, but what a guardian animal is an animal that carries a human soul. Cats, they're more familiars than they're to do with the witch side of things more than guardians, but dogs are guardian animals. Do you know the way an animal would look at you, and a dog would look at you and turn the head as if it's listening to you and nearly talk back to you?
Yes.
They're guardian animals. So basically, when we have 10, for karmic reasons, we have 10 cycles. So 10 lifetimes, we have to come back. Our soul has to come back for 10 lifetimes. And once you have the 10 lifetimes finished, you get a rest period where your soul can float around in the ether or can do whatever it wants to do. It's a rest period for your soul, basically. So some souls, usually they're generational. So usually it's a throwback to generations back. where the soul decides, okay, well, I want to come back and help guide. And they come back as animals, because animals have relatively short lives compared to us. They have like 10, 15 years compared to 80 or 90. We had one before the lady I have here beside me. We had a male dog. He was a Lab Retriever mix. Now, he was male, but he was the most feminine male I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And he lived until he was 17.
Wow.
He was for my kids.
Well, Marvin, well, I also call him Charlie. He's got a kind of dual name. It depends what mood I'm in. He's either Charlie or he's Marvin, but he was always Marvin at the beginning. And he's a talker. You know, you speak, I say something to him, I look at him and like I'd be talking to you, Carmel, and he'll always come back with meows or variations of meows. 99.9% of times. Now, recently I think he's gone a little bit deaf in himself. But, you know, because I lift him, I say, God, you never let me down, Charlie, do you? And there's always a verbal acknowledgement, you know. There's always a meow. Now, recently as well, here's one for you. I think it could be another cat knocking around. But Marvin has taken to what my daughter describes as sundowning, although it was 6:45 the other morning. He's in the kitchen and he starts yowling. Now, there's a studio here I'm in, which I work out of my garden. And a couple of times I've heard him yowling as well. And I look outside and he doesn't seem to be yowling to anyone in particular or even another cat. Maybe he senses one around. But it's just this, almost like a dog baying, but a cat version. I don't know what that is, do you?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that?
Go on, please.
He's getting ready to go home.
Yeah, listen, you don't surprise me. I actually said to my wife yesterday, I said, I'm wondering, is that cancer or something? Because when I was lifting him, you know, he'd be a bit more kind of, you know, maybe I'm hurting him, you know.
No. As far as I can tell by his energy, he hasn't got cancer and that he's old age. That's what he has.
Correct.
He also has feline dementia.
Oh my God, you're so right.
When they have dementia, they see stuff that we don't. Well, they see stuff that we don't anyway, but when they're in the dementia state, it's very much like a human. When they're lucid, they're present. When they're not lucid, they're out of their body. So basically, when your cat was howling at nothing, he was seeing the Rainbow Bridge.
How did you know about the dementia thing?
Jerome is great. He tells me stuff.
Does he? Yeah. Well, I think it is anyway. I think there's a bit of that going on. Now, the other thing he was doing, I know you're not a veterinary surgeon, right? You know, for a while, there was a bit of peeing going on. Now, he's only confined to a conservatory area in the kitchen. We generally don't have them about the house because there's a little female one with him as well she hates me anyway. She cannot stand me, whatever about the ladies in the house. So she's kind of standoffish with me and I have a weird...
Most female cats are, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, this little one, she was part kind of feral as well when we got her, but she's took to the house. But Marvin, as I said, like he is, to me now... I've had animals that have died and it's been sad, but I probably didn't shed any tears. I don't think I'm going to be, or any of the rest of the family are going to be in a good place if Marvin leaves us soon. The only thing I will say is he's had a couple of close encounters, right, where we thought, we were looking at him and going, he's going to go. And he's bounced back.
It's not his time yet. No, you haven't for another while.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he's looking fine on it.
I am being told to tell you as well that when he does go, it will be an e-sleep.
Yeah, well, he's got a little basket out there, and that's where
you won't have to, put it this way, you won't have to bring him to a vet.
Okay. Well, right, we'll keep...
Well, it's not for a while yet, don't worry.
Oh, no, don't you worry. I'm just saying, look, by the way...
Just interestingly enough, the female cat you have, has she started following him around everywhere?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I don't want to just jump on that because, but probably. They're close. I mean, put it this way. A couple of nights... We found them sleeping together in the same basket.
He's teaching her the care of you, or the care of the household. Put it that way.
She hates me. Like it's a simple.
No, but he's teaching her the care of the household. So as a guardian, they hand the guardianship over when it's coming to their end of their life, their life cycle.
Yeah.
Another one usually pops in. You know, somebody gets another cat, or you get a stray cat and it wanders in, or whatever. So he then teaches her the care of the household.
I don't want to, and I don't tend to get emotional, but you know what? I don't think as an act any cat's ever going to follow him?
Oh God, no, you don't. Your guardian, that's for you. You don't change it all. My daughter was the main kind of guardian for my 17-year-old lab. And the howl that came out of that girl when that dog died is the first thing to a banshee I've ever heard. Yeah. And I did not want another dog at all in any way, shape or form. Guardians usually come to you in an unusual way as well. The dog I have now, she's 2. She came to me via my son, who he looks after dogs. He homeboards and he trains dogs and stuff. But his wife, her best friend runs a sanctuary in Longford, and they rang him to ask him would he take over the care of a foster dog that they'd gotten in. They're a big animal sanctuary, and there was a litter of pups, 8 pups, and a mother that were dumped at the sanctuary gates. And my one was the runt of the litter, and she was being bullied, and they didn't have time to feed her because they weren't, as I said, a small animal sanctuary. So they asked him would he take her on. As soon as he saw her, he said, "No, that's Mam's dog." The rest, she's collie cross. The rest of the collies, my friend has her sister. The rest of the litter were all pure black and white collies. My one is a tricolour.
Oh.
Now I brought her to the vet just to get her checked out when I got her. She was only 9 weeks, and he goes, "She's actually a product of," which happens. I didn't realise it did, that a female dog can mate with 2 different dogs. I didn't realise that.
No.
But normally the first mating is usually reabsorbed by the mother, right, when she's carrying pups.
A canine hussy.
Yeah, pretty much. But she's the result. But normally the first one in usually is absorbed by the mother. It doesn't turn into a dog.
All right, look, I've taken an awful lot of your time, but you know what? I'm going to squeeze a bit more out of you. So a couple of things, I'll throw them at you, right? See how we get on. Any particular place in Galway that you find really paranormally active? Doesn't have to be one of the well-known ones. Is there any place known to you where you've kind of really felt all hell's been let loose here?
Too many to mention.
Really?
They're everywhere.
What is it about Galway? What is it about that place?
Galway, the West Coast, Galway itself, Galway City and Galway County had an awful lot of tragedy.
Yes.
Between Spanish Armada, way back to the famine. That's where most of this stuff comes from, is way back to the famine, because the west of Ireland was absolutely crucified in the famine. And most of the land energy in the west, I don't know about the rest of the country, but in the west, what happened was they were burying them. They couldn't bury them as fast as they were passing away, so they burnt them. And where the funeral pyres were, there were prayers said over them, all right, but nothing major. They basically unrest is in the land. So then you go building a house or digging, you unleash the energy, which causes there's some places I can't get into, literally cannot get into. The Protestant church here in Hume, I can't get into. I can't even go on the ground. I feel sick the minute I go into it.
Was it at Cromwell as well, to Hell or to Connacht? Do you remember that?
I went to, there was a place up in Navan I used to do readings from, and it was right on the Boyne. Oh man, it was horrific. I couldn't walk down beside it at all. I'd feel sick straight away.
Well, that was just sheer, butchery, wasn't it?
But, us Celts, we don't have a good history of being nice.
Carmel, what do you think of the way the world is going?
Not good.
And why is that?
But it's not the end of the world. Man, as I said, it all boils back to man's inhumanity to man. All the wars, the pandemic, everything like that. My opinion on it, it's only my opinion, is that because the vibration on the spiritual side of things, because the vibration is rising so fast ahead of 2032, that people that cannot function at that level of frequency won't be here.
And how will it manifest themselves that they won't be here?
They'll be dead.
Will they be raptured or what?
They're more or less, yeah. They're like, adult sudden death syndrome. People are going for a jog and they drop dead. Now, the only advantage of that is they don't get the rest period, so their soul will come back again relatively fast. So 42, 52 and 52, everybody that has been lost in the last decade will be back. Well, their soul will anyway.
So who sets the rules for, say, 2032? Who says that, or what says that, and what power dictates that?
God, I suppose, if you want to be Catholic about it. The universe, if you don't.
Uh-huh. Carmel, you tell me that I'm an empath and I have a healing ability within me. Now, this is news to me and good news. How do you know that?
Well, I can see it on your aura for a start. Do you know the way everybody goes to you with their problems? You know, you go to the local shop to buy a loaf of bread. And you go, how are you, Tom? How's it going? And next thing, Tom is over and telling you everything. And you're kind of trying to back it.
Not me, Carmel. In fact, if anything, I make people's ears bleed telling them my problems.
No, well, you're an empath. So I put it this way, as they call it, as a trendy thing, as an emotional intelligence. I think I'm pretty good at that, and was that in business as well. I know people, I get situations. Whether I'm really empathetic towards them, I don't know, but I suss. Well, being empathetic and being an empath now are two different things.
Different, right? Okay, that makes
completely
sense.
Different.
That makes
being
sense.
Being empathetic, you look at somebody and you know how they feel by looking at them.
Yes.
You know, say your wife comes down in the morning and she's not feeling very well, you know, and you get this sinking feeling, you okay? You know, that type of thing. You look at your kids the same way.
Of course.
Being an empath is a sudden onset of emotion. So, you know, you suddenly get angry, you suddenly get frustrated, you suddenly get cross, you suddenly feel like doing absolutely something totally bonkers. You get a fish of the giggles for no apparent reason.
Yes.
That's being an empath. You mean you literally lifted that emotion off somebody. Now, all you have to do is walk past them in the street. I used to wake up crying for years. Took my friend actually to inform me what it was. I was actually, when I was subconscious, I work at such a vibration that I was picking up on people driving past my home. And when I woke up in the morning, their emotions lodged with me. Same way during COVID. You're in your house and you're perfectly fine. You go outside your front door and you get hit with the wave of, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
That's an impact. You only have to start your journey with that. Don't worry.
It's taken its time to kick in. Like, if I'm 62 now. By the way, that's another thing. I get obsessed by age, and I realised recently
60 is one of the last times the universe hit you with their 2x4 psychic stick across the back of your head.
Oh, yeah.
It's 60 and 70. They leave you alone after that. They got me when I was 3. They hit me with it when I was 3.
3. Well, no, I recently thought to myself, my wife isn't that much younger than me, and my best friend is the same age as me, and they don't seem to have any obsession whatsoever with what stage of life they're at, what stage of life they're in, how their bodies are changing. And I'm going, is it just me? Oh, my wife would often say to me, "Geez, Mark, you've too much bloody time on your hands. That's your problem."
No, it's not. It's a healer thing.
Is it?
Like when my friend passed away, he was same age as me, 6 months older than me. And he passed away in September, and I've been obsessing with my age and looking at my kids going, oh my God, I've only got another maybe 10, 15 good years before I pass away.
Yeah.
And I had never had that before.
Well, I can remember my father retired full colonel from the army at the age of 60, and he had 40 years as an officer. And I can see it as clear as day where they moved when he retired. And that he had, I obsess about these things. From that time, he had 22 years on this planet, and he'd never had any health issues like I had, right? When I was 55 is when my incident happened. And I can package that 22 years like it was the blink of an eye. I'm kind of going, this is ahead of me. But then again, I look at the last 20 years and okay, they've gone fast, but at the same time, there's been a lot in there. So I'm not going to, please don't tell me, right? But you've
led a very interesting life.
I have. It hasn't been the most. I certainly have a diverse range of interests, but yeah, I have had an interesting life. Yeah, I grew up in a kind of, well, I won't say I grew up in it. I was in a war zone as a kid.
Most natural born healers. In fact, every natural born healer, now as opposed to a waking person, everybody does healing, they're training as a Reiki master or bioenergist or whatever they do. We're natural born, which means it's in our bloodline. We were born like this. It never got conditioned out of us, or we never shut it down within ourselves. All right. So as a natural born healer, we tend to have, excuse my language, the shittiest life experiences. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they're all bad. But it's kind of like it's the hamster wheel of life speeds up. It doesn't slow down. Even though we want it to slow down so we can have a break, it doesn't do that. It just speeds up. So it's solve one thing, something else comes up straight away. So our mind is constantly going ahead of us. What's around the next corner, whatever else.
You're right. It is, and I'm always trying to think ahead.
The reason. Well, you're an indigo adult, so you will be thinking ahead anyway.
So, like, I'm the late George Michael, God rest him, was a day older than I am. So he was 25th of June.
I loved him.
And I cried when I heard
I had a funny experience
Right,
with George
my
Michael.
high is
Actually.
Tell me.
For some peculiar reason, I had a dream there last week, and George Michael was in it twice. And I go, what the heck was that about? And then I was talking to a friend of a friend, technically. I was talking to a friend of mine in England, and there was a friend of hers that was friends with George Michael.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was his anniversary, whatever, recently or
His
whenever
anniversary would have been Christmas Day.
Yeah, because she messaged me between Christmas and New Year's to see would I do a reading for a friend of hers. Now, I haven't done it yet, but it was because she lost a very good friend of hers who was a celebrity, basically. She didn't tell me who it was or anything. And next thing, I got this George Michael dream twice. And then I was talking to my friend in England, and she goes, oh, yeah, the celebrity was George Michael.
What was George Michael doing in your dreams? Can you remember?
He was telling me to help her.
Oh. Well, he was a lovely...
Same thing. I had something similar with Gerry Ryan years ago after he died.
Now you're talking, because to me, as a wannabe broadcaster back in the day, and I go back to the Pirates, but Gerry Ryan was special,
When we were talking, when you rang me the other night, all I got into my head was, a thought process came into my head was, he's just like me. And I'm going, huh? And next thing was Gerry Ryan going, he's just like me on the airwaves. He couldn't give a shite.
Yeah, you give me a tribute there. And, self-praise is no praise, as they say. But first of all, I loved him.
Oh, man.
I didn't know him. And actually, you know what? I live not far from where he passed. And a couple of weeks before, or maybe a few months or whatever, I was in a supermarket here, a place called Marion. And he was there, and at that time, I think, his own personal circumstances, he looked very dishevelled. We all remember the ponytailed man about town of the 80s, early 80s anyway, and he really was. Everybody knew Gerry Ryan or had an opinion about him. But here he was in middle age, looking awful. And you know what? He was getting his shopping like we all do, just like everybody else, right? And he looked a bit like Columbo almost, that kind of, dishevelled look. Yeah. And I stopped myself, and I wanted to go up to him and just say, do you know, I'm sure you get this all the time, but do you know the influence you had on my life? Because the thing was, he didn't give a shite, and yet he did. He was the most empathetic interviewer I ever heard. And it was this beautiful respect he gave. He'd pause. He'd let the person talk. And do you know what? He had this way of seeing it through their eyes, processing it. Oh my God. Class act.
I've met Gerry a couple of times in spirit, and it scared the living bejesus out of me.
Tell him I was asking for him, because I think...
Well, I don't connect with him now. I did what he wanted me to do something, and I did what he wanted to do. Unbeknownst to myself, I did what he wanted me to do.
He was a unique individual. For those of you who are listening outside of the country, etc., we had this very dynamic DJ, disc jockey, broadcaster, presenter, whatever they call them these days. And he ran a talk show for many years called The Ryan Line. And it was quite controversial, because he'd go into areas that our renowned staid broadcaster often wouldn't venture into. He got away with stuff that other people wouldn't get away with. But he became somewhat of a low unto himself. And I think there was a bit of an ego thing going on as well.
He was his own worst enemy.
Yeah, he was. He was totally. I mean, if he had been clued in and clever, financially and all the rest of it, he'd been well off. But I think he started to kind of hang out with the Bono kind of thing. And, he thought maybe he was in that kind of league because he moved it in those circles. But as anybody who knows, all the glitters and all that isn't gold. Whereas he just kept it sound, and he had a very good marriage for a very long time as well.
But that was just one of the weird ones.
Carmel, what are the biggest misconceptions people have about psychic mediums?
That were crazy.
How do you respond to those people?
Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and everybody has their own opinion. I am whole and complete within myself, so if you don't believe what I say, and to be honest with you, if somebody comes to me for a reading and they say, they believe everything I say. I'll call them a liar because we're human. We have to have skepticism. I had a lovely lady come into the shop with her two friends, elderly ladies come into the shop, totally and utterly the most skeptical person you've ever seen in your whole entire life. By the time she went out the door, she'd already booked a reading for tomorrow.
Yes.
To people that say we're crazy, this is one thing they have to remember is, yes, in the old days we were considered crazy. There was lunatic asylums filled with people that could do what we do.
Of course. You'd be sent to the big house, yeah.
Yeah, but what you have to remember is that it takes a very, very strong mind to actually stay in both dimensions.
Okay.
So, balance.
Okay.
So think of it, the way I describe it to people is a very large playing field. In the middle of the playing field, there's a 4-foot wide wall. You have to stay in the middle of the 4-foot wide wall. Because if you go too far over the psychic side, you will end up in a psych ward on heavy medication in a straitjacket.
Well, listen,
go too far over the human side.
As the monkeys used to say, I'm a believer when it comes to you, because within the first 30 seconds of me talking to you last week, you were able to tell me stuff that, that something happened to me when I was around 9, in and around. And that to me, I mean, straight away, it's not that I just want to believe you. You were right. I mean, I think that's roughly around the time.
Yeah, well, it was the same with the lady on Saturday. I said some stuff to her, and she was looking at me going,
yeah.
And that's the most normal question, I guess, is, how did you know that?
You were right, because that's the time I encountered this apparition in this old British Army house that I grew up in that literally has set the course for Scary Era. I pretty much have seen nothing else, Carmel, ever, or anything else I could kind of I could kind of maybe rationalize anything else that's strange to me, but that was a paranormal experience. I'll go to my grave saying that I saw this old lady in a blue outfit looking very serenely at me at 4 a.m. in the morning in this old, what was known as a master bedroom of this very old house dating from the 1800s.
That's because your vibration tuned into hers at that particular time.
Oh, yeah. And I wasn't, as I said to you at the time, I wasn't hanging around. The head went under the sheets pretty quick, but the hair was standing on end. So I remember that. Can I ask you just one or two other things?
The first spirit I saw when I was getting reconnected into this publicly, I was asking my guides. I could hear them and I could smell them and all of that, but I couldn't see them. And I'm going, I want to see them, I want to see them. I kept being told, it's not time yet, it's not time yet. I was driving home on a country road, and this old man with his dog walked straight across the road in front of me. I hit the brakes. Thanks be to God, there was no car behind me. I hit the brakes because I thought I hit somebody. Your man looks at me and he goes, can you see me? And I says, yeah. And he goes, I didn't think you could see me yet. Okay. Sorry about that. And he disappeared. I was stuck to the side of the road for 20 minutes shaking.
I'd say you were. I'd say you had to change your seat covers afterwards, Carmel.
Oh man, sure. Even in the shop, if I ignore a spirit, stuff will start flying off the shop shelves. I had a lady come in and her mother was trying to tell me something, and I wasn't listening because I was in the middle of trying to tell her something else. And next thing, my Alexa came on with Queen's Mama.
Yeah.
That's all that came on. That's it. One word. I don't know who got more of a fright, her or me.
Do you know a funny thing happened? Luckily, he got out of it. But a friend of mine years ago was driving along in a car, and in Wicklow, around Sally Gap there. And anyway, the speed, typical him, the speed he was going, he flipped into a ditch, went down the side of a hill. The car was upside down. What was playing on the stereo, Carmel? Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah. The spirit world and the universe played practical jokes. Well, not practical jokes, but have a funny side.
I had another one as well. Now, it's nothing to do with the paranormal, but a friend of mine, he was coming home from the shops years ago. He was coming after doing his groceries, and he crashed the car, and all his groceries were in the front seat, But anyway, he got out, he staggered around, and then he felt the top of his head, and his fingers were all pink, and he's going, oh my God, my brains are coming out, right? What it was actually his yogurt had exploded. So he's a lovely guy as well. So listen, before we wrap up, let me just see if there's anything else I can squeeze out of Carmel Conway, who's just been a fantastic guest, friend more so than a guest. I feel you're a friend.
Thank you for doing that.
No, I mean that. Yeah, wait till I see. Are there any ethical boundaries that are important to you in this line of work?
Yeah, do no harm.
Do no harm. Wow.
An awful lot of people, the first thing they say to me is, "You're not going to tell me anything bad." Okay? No, I don't. But you have to be very aware of the fact that what you say to somebody can have a huge impact. Okay? The way I got it, I used, when I was doing readings, when I started doing readings first, I was terrified I'd say the wrong thing to somebody.
Yes.
But the way it is the tone in which I say it are the words coming out of my mouth. I have to be responsible for that, but the thoughts behind the words are not mine. But you have to also know, and this, I'm sure you've come across this in your line of work as well. If you're saying something to somebody that you feel they need to hear, but you get this kind of closure in their eyes, the lights are on, there's nobody home.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then you stop talking because they can't hear it. And
They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, then they're not ready. So you're going to do harm if you keep going.
Yeah.
The way I say to people, if you get, like we were chatting for nearly 2 hours now, so if you or whoever's going to listen to this get one word out of our whole conversation that affects them in a good way, job's done. Like I see myself as the pebble, all right? So the universe picked me up, like the ripple effect. The universe picked me up, throw me into the pond. The ripple that comes off me, if I catch one or two people in that ripple that go on to do the same thing, well, that's amazing.
It is. And on that happy note, I think you should go and get a good, well-deserved cup of tea, as I'm going to go and...
Well, I'm still sitting in my pyjamas at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I hear you've started me off. With myself and my wife, we were going for a walk yesterday. As I said, the sea's only down the road here. And this was about around 5:30ish in the evening. On the side of the road, going up the coast road, not a bad-looking lady either, I have to say, but probably in her early 20s. What about the whole thing? The pyjamas? She not only had the pyjamas, she had the slippers and the dressing gown, the whole shebang. Now, it wasn't just the trousers that you often see in shops these days, which is appalling. But it was literally someone who got out of bed and was often down by the middle of the coast having a stroll.
Well, my outlook on that is fair play to them. They're that comfortable within themselves. Don't give a shite what
That's true. And my father used to say that, sure, what harm? That was his thing. Sure, what harm? Actually, just before you go, so here we go. I've been thinking, and I meant to say this to you earlier. So you are awake to a spectrum of awareness that a lot of people, you say, did have or do have, and it's now...
There's more and more reconnecting to it.
Yeah, well, that's good. But the question I'm going to ask is, surely this preponderance of digital devices and distractions we have must be taking away from those natural abilities, which are far superior, I'd imagine, than anything that AI can come up with. So, I mean, what are you seeing these days? Is it the phones? Because I put it this way, I know I've known of a lot of very young people, too young people, and I'd say that TOO, too young to take their own lives because of their imagined perception or negative on social media. I know that happened. And one girl, oh my God, she was about 20, 21. You'd run away with her. She was beautiful. And her teeth, her hair, everything. She didn't think she was perfect enough. Her mother said this to me. And she took her own life. And it was tragic. Yeah,
it is tragic. It's the influence of social media is wrong.
It's a scourge.
The hold it has over people. It is good in a way, but it's bad as well. And perception of self. Most of that generation, we say under 25s, they're very unsure of themselves. And the smallest little thing, they give the impression that they're, confident and strong and the whole lot. But they're not. And then you get, I myself got, when I opened the shop first, I got a poison pin letter, right? In the door of the shop. Oh, God, it's affecting me something wicked. And then it was posted online.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And I'm going, really? Really? Now, that really affected me. And I can see where I was in my early 50s at that stage. And that really affected me. So you can imagine a young, impressionable 15, 16, 17-year-old.
Now, on the one hand, when I do, I mean, There's some that are quite intellectual and more articulate than I will ever be. But the aspect of me that worries when I do look at younger people is their inability. First of all, they're kumbaya or they're wokeified, so everybody's good and it's all sunshine and angel piss, right, to be quite frank. However, if you challenge this very narrow perception they have in any way, it's not like it used to be where it was a difference of opinion. To them, it's a direct attack on them to be stamped out.
That generation, the younger generation, take everything very personally.
Yeah, and like they will go at you, and at its worst aspect is some kind of almost, it looks like a brainwashing. Where you saw last year, I have no dog in any fight, right? And as I get older, in fact, I have less and less. But that guy, Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated in Utah, the delight in certain Gen Z's eyes and the glorification of what was done largely. I'm not saying I agree with the guy's views, but he was one of these guys you wouldn't want to get into a verbal altercation with him because he was an intellectual. But it was almost the glee at some of these purple-haired, nose-ringed, each to their own characters. Though I kind of looked and I thought, you are actually lethal. You come with a have a nice day face, but you would kill someone, or your views will kill someone. Because if you didn't like, say, Charlie Kirk or whoever, right, debate them. That's how it used to be in the old days. And you'd have a drink with them afterwards. Debate.
That generation tend to use the word hate very...
Well, they weaponize the word hate, I think.
They do, yeah. And it's I suppose just different generations, different things for different generations. I'm sure our generation used words as well.
Yeah, but I often have this thing whereby I realise, look, teenagers in the 50s, and there was always this kind of generation gap, who's cool, who isn't cool. But this is different. And I'll tell you why it's different. Because these young people, have grown up with, I would say, quite a large part of their attention, natural attention to life, interrupted, short-circuited by the use of technology from a really early age.
Yeah.
For the brain to develop, it probably doesn't develop up fully until it's around 25. But this thing is interjected into their development. It shouldn't be allowed, but it is allowed. It's now become a part of life. I mean, I don't know about you. I've sat in restaurants and seen the disembodied head of George Clooney looking at me in a beautiful restaurant, in one time a castle restaurant. What was it? Some kid, instead of having their dinner, they were watching a movie. So anyway, I suppose we could talk all night, but a different generation, different type.
One thing I want to say to you before you go, because I swear to God, the one that's driving me crazy here.
Okay.
First of all, your mother must have kept a very tidy, clean house, because she's given out to me about the state of my kitchen and I didn't put away my laundry. She was. She's given out to me about the state of my kitchen and the fact that it's nearly 2 o'clock and I'm still in my dressing gown and my laundry is piled up on the kitchen table.
My mother would change clothes twice a day.
Yeah, well, she's given out to me about it. The other thing as well, she is taking full credit for when you were going through your heart problems. She took full credit because you had a near-death experience. So I don't know whether you're aware of the fact that you were clinically dead for about 3 seconds.
Probably, yeah.
Your mother's taking full credit to send you back.
Thanks, Mum. No, I'm not saying that in a flippant way. No, I thought myself, but you're on...
you'd also want to... I'd say you're already doing this. This might be old news.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also saying she's glad to see that you're eating better.
Yeah. I have to.
You've also curbed your father, because your father had a very sweet tooth, so she's glad to see that you've curbed that you don't do that, because your wife is very good. She likes her, by the way. Your wife is very good for making sure that you don't, but apparently you do have a stash of, I don't know what you might call them, munchies.
No, I don't.
Did you? I said this could be old news. Used you?
Crisps and all that crap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's when I was a
kind of,
sales rep, and I'd be depressed or whatever, and I'd get into
'cause she
into
said
the
you
car
used
and
to-
load up on crisps and
Yeah,
shite.
that's what I'm saying. I didn't know whether it was a present thing or because she said this is the first opportunity she's got to talk to you. So yeah.
Oh,
Glad to see you've changed.
yeah. Oh well, Mum, she was a very, very special person. She could.
Your mother she has a wicked laugh and she's a very cheeky grin.
She could suss people out, and she could tell you he's a no good or a ne'er do well. Watch him, watch her.
I'm not promoting you. Say I'm honoured that she decided to chat to me because your mother wasn't one. She talked to people and be polite to people, but she's kind of like of the generation, her anyway, where show me your people and I'll tell you what type of person you are.
Yeah.
And there's only my kids and my brother left on my family on this side of the fence.
Yeah.
So she must have checked out because she said I come from good people because my mother was a secondary school teacher, so I must be good.
Oh, my mum's teacher wasn't a secondary. Mum wasn't a secondary school teacher.
No,
but,
my mother was.
Oh, yours was. Oh, yours.
So
okay.
She waited until the end of the conversation. She said she waited until you were finished working before she come in and say hello.
Yeah. It's
says hello, by the way.
No, of course, and I'm not responding to what you're saying in any way cynical at all. I keep a huge open mind, and you're often remarkably accurate. I would just say I'm glad she's happy. I have to say one of the flaws she had, not personal. Sorry, no, I've got to rephrase that. One of the unfortunate aspects of her life was Sorry.
Just as well you rephrased that, because when you said flaw, her eyebrow went up. So
yeah, she'd be sensitive. No, and
her eyebrow went up. When you said flaw, her eyebrow went up.
Well, it would be more her rolling pin come down. I'd be worried about. But she was too sequestered. How do I put it? She was alone in a house, and vicariously living through her children and her children's achievements, maybe even at times their relationships.
I hate to tell you this, but that's what she liked.
Yeah.
She said, I didn't mind that. Your mother was an earth mother, so your mother was all about her kids.
That's true. Well, no, that's true. But what I think is, the sad thing about it was, she would hold a party, with those other officers and other army wives around and stuff, back in the 70s anyway. And I used to be very proud of her. Not only was she a very good-looking woman, but she was great with people. When she got in a circle of people, she was a charmer and fun. My mother was great fun, by the way. That's if I was to
she had a wicked sense of humour.
She had at times a very abstract one, but very crazy and funny. One of my daughters is like her. She
could play a practical joke on you with a poker face.
Yes, that's true. And
she sent me as well. Sorry for interrupting you, but if I don't say what the spirit is saying when they're saying it, I lose it, and then I end up getting a headache.
Okay.
She's also saying as well, and she's saying this is important for you to hear. I don't know in what capacity that is, so I hope this makes sense. She's saying she did love your father very, very much.
Oh God, the two of them were mad. They were 50 years together.
Yeah, she loved your father very, very much, although he was very hard to handle at times.
He could be stubborn, but he was. I mean, if you were to say who's more devoted,
your dad is laughing now, and he goes, "Well, of course we loved each other very much. Why are you telling the child that?"
Yeah. No, I was only
thing.
remarking upon this to my wife recently. I said, there was a lot of hugging went on in that, well into the relationship. I'm very tactile. I mean, I'm afraid I'm going to offend my daughters, who are young ladies now, because I'm always grabbing them. I can't leave them alone. And I used to see I'm
the same with mine.
Yeah, I see my parents, and I said, God, that's lovely that those two have been together all these decades and they're still hugging. And they were devoted to each other. She had Alzheimer's towards the end. Wait till I see. She got it when she was about 74, so she had about 6 years of terrible dementia. And he, she could have got into a home and it would have been easier. Not at all. He stuck by his wife.
Well, of course he did. Why would he?
And but people do, because it'll be a practical thing sometime. More, nobody wants to, but I can understand if people, at their wits' end, or they're trying to look after their own kids, and they end up putting.
No, your mother is telling me what your father said as well, mind you. But they're both agreeing with the fact that they took their marriage vows very seriously.
Totally.
So in sickness and in health.
Totally. And you see, he was, his whole Christianity as well, which was very devout.
Your mum is saying as well that the only thing she's sorry for about the whole time, her being ill and dementia and stuff, was towards the end way towards the end, that she was so sorry that she this is her perception, no, not yours, by the way, that her perception was that she upset people by not knowing them. And your dad said, that was right, yes, but he knew that in her heart, she still knew who he was.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true. There was the who is he, but you knew that they knew each other. As
soon as your dad held her hand or sat beside her, he knew, because as I said, we're made up of balls of energy and light. Yeah. So she recognized his energy. Her physicality mightn't have recognized him, but her energy did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've a bit of footage of them at Christmas, shortly before the two of them passed.
I know they were lovely, actually.
They were a good-looking couple, Apparently,
what your father did to a uniform was very nice.
Yeah.
In other words, he cut a fine figure when he was in
uniform. He did. And I found a photo of them taken in 1952. It was off a newspaper only recently, and they're a very happy couple. She was very. I have two brothers, and I have a late brother. Do you know that? Do you pick up on him at all?
Yeah, he's with Dad. Wouldn't have believed in me in any way, shape, or form, by the way.
Yeah, correct.
Which is why he didn't say hello.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm a fortune teller.
It was he was a beautiful son though to have. He was.
I know, but I'm a fortune teller.
He didn't have that much time for me either, by the way. Well, he didn't hate me, but he just thought I was a bit of a dreamer, I think.
No, he thinks you're absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I not at all. Sure, I've got broad shoulders at this stage. I've often spent much time ruminating about. He said it was 9.
No, he does love you very much. He just doesn't understand you.
There was there was 9 years between us, and he was very official, professional. I was in another way. I mean, I was in sales for years, but this guy was like an executive, within a corporate organization, and he was high up. But he died too young. He died in his early 50s,
Yeah.
Never smoked, never drank. And what you call it, bowel cancer got him.
Oh, Lord.
And but tell you what he was a musician to his fingertips.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, talking about stuff, because my guy keeps telling me to bring up this, and I have no idea why. I would have probably the guy who said your brother's a musician as well. Do you know a guy called Dahi Connaughton?
No.
Because apparently you worked together at some point.
Well, Dahi is a David. It's Gaelic for David.
Yeah. He's an editor. He worked on radio and television.
Yeah.
For some reason, my guy just said to bring it up. I have no idea whether
and you know what often I find as well happens is after we have these conversations, I'll think about it and I'll go, oh no, you were right,
No, maybe it's because sometimes when names randomly come up like that, my guy brings them up, maybe it's me to connect the two of you or something. I have no idea.
I mean, I tell you, here's an interesting one, and you're both brilliant, by the way. Just don't take this the wrong way at all, because I'm amazed. I keep a very open mind. So I had this lady on, Rhonda Hale. She's Czech-American, but she lives in Ireland and practices from there. And she was saying, and very much echoing what you're saying about my parents. There wasn't I couldn't go, aha, my parents are completely different in Rhonda's view than in Carmel's view, because actually it's coming across quite the same. But she was very persistent. She said, there's a little boy with your mother, she kept saying, right? And straight away I knew that wasn't the case. And I said to her, hang on, because I think we want to help our mediums out as well. And I think that can be perhaps a flaw insofar as we start getting wishful thinking. We try to help you do your work, right? And at that point, I raised what I've just with you. I said, "Oh, I know what that is, Rhonda. That's my brother. My brother passed early. That's what that must be." And she was going, "When did he die?" I said, "He was in his 50s." She says, "No, it's a boy. There's a boy with them, right?" And I kept going, "No, well, it's got to be my brother you're talking about." It was only later on I was thinking after the interview was over. And it came to me, my mother had a miscarriage sometime in the late 60s, early 70s. And she told me it was a boy. There you go. I mean, you guys are amazing.
She had two, actually.
Well, now...
She had two miscarriages.
Wouldn't surprise me. But I was aware of one. And I remember, it was kind of too much information. Because I remember thinking, why are you telling me this kind of intimate thing? Because that's what it felt like. And I was only like 7 or something, But she was saying you had, and we baptised into sync or something like that. And I don't know.
Yeah, because you had a right to know.
Yeah.
Simple as. Anyway, I am going to leave you, love you, because I need teas to leave.
Okay, I need teas. Well, this has been fantastic. There goes Carmel Conway, doyenne of the universe and paranormal world. But she was there anyway at the bottom of the stairs for 2 hours in her dressing gown with her cat on her lap. And I really thank you so much for that, Carmel. She's got a great way with people. She just has. Some people have that. She has a lovely way with people. And speaking of people, I need to hear from you people. Tell them all about it, Sarah.
If you like our Scary EIRE podcast, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or ideas, contact Paranormal Ireland at protonmail.com. Right then, back to the podcast.
Yep. So if anything at all strikes you, get in touch. Paranormal Ireland at protonmail.com. I'll give you a kiss on the air if I see an email from you. Obviously, if you're a bloke or a guy, you'll get a firm handshake. And we leave it at that. Gotta say thanks to our listeners. You've just heard the lovely Sarah Campbell. She is a broadcaster, voiceover artist and event host extraordinaire based up in the north of Ireland. Around the same area, you've heard David McGlynn today read as well. He's also known as the Squire because he's just very sophisticated, don't you know? Restores furniture, does our David. We went down to Cork to hear the lovely lilt, didn't we? Yes, indeed, a Matthew Clark of Cork Supernaturals. I shouldn't be doing that. He's a great guy and I love his voice. Matthew Clark, Cork Supernatural Society. Thank you. You always give me a dig out if I need it. I really appreciate that. As I do Eugene Doran, who we also heard from as well. Formerly, well, he might still be of Afterworld Paranormal or Afterlife Paranormal and currently residing with Anthony and his spangled trousers in Ghost Era. Yep, that's about it. That's it. Yeah. So, I hope to hear from you. Won't you take care of yourself? Take care, 'cause I care.